income grant,
Yes.
BIGSA,
Yes.
Big South Africa,
Yeah.
says it wants to offer
Yes.
South Africans 3,500 per month.
Yes.
Tell me, who are those people who will get that?
Okay. Basic Income Grant South Africa, Big SA, wants to offer anyone who is South African, so everybody, not anyone, sorry, everyone who is a South African citizen and they are of an age 26 and upwards. We want to offer them 3,500 per month, whether you are in
Politics like benchmarking.
Yes.
And, remember Thabo Mbeki used to do peer review mechanisms just
Yes.
to go and see what other people are doing, peer-to-peer, we check. Have you seen this model working anywhere?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of countries, especially after the coronavirus lockdowns and the scourge, that have been trying to implement. But a lot of other countries have been doing it in different manners and different ways. Like, for instance, in Alaska, the Alaska have what they call the citizens' dividend. And the citizens' dividend in Alaska, every year, they have a parastatal, a SOE, like a Petro SA, because they rely a lot on fossil fuels and those kind of things that they produce as a state. And what they do is that they give their citizens what they call a citizens' dividend, once off per annum. The bank issues a card, a special card not tied to your bank account. A special card for Mashiane to say, okay, here's your universal basic income card, which you go and buy what you need with it for 3,500. Whatever you buy. So there's no limit on what you can buy, or whether you want to buy a hairpiece or earrings and I chose to go the business route because I always had that inkling and the activity and the experience within business. And that's why I ended up with a master's in business administration. And I also did the EDP. I feel very strong. I'm a strong finance person. And I love economics. So I argue openly about Keynesian economics and Smithsonian and communism as opposed to socialism. People think it's the same thing because people like to throw terms around. And capitalism. So we, as Big SA, we say we are the big capitalists. We are more capitalists. We've been accused of being socialists. So 1.5.
Okay.
And no, I mixed it up. Sorry. 15 million South Africans are between ages of 18 to 25. 1.5. No? 1.5. And 16 million, 1.6, 26 and above. So if you I must get the numbers.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay, sorry. It's 15 million South Africans above the is the longest serving political prisoner on Robben Island. And our history never talks about it because he came from the Pan-African National Congress, PAC, and he is the founder.
Financial training and background while we're at it.
Yeah, I trained as an accountant at the Wits University. I have a master's in business administration. I'm an elite MBA graduate of the...
Not just MBA.
The elite. When Wits was number one, almost internationally. I think we were within the top 10 in the mid-90s when I graduated in...
Before dubious MBAs could be fashionable.
Before people could write assignments for UNISA students. Sorry about that.
No.
Almost a proclamation. In 1999-2000, Thabo Mbeki spoke about a basic income grant for unemployed people in 1999 of 110 rand a month at that time. So it's not a new concept. And if you look at the universal basic income and the basic income grant or whatever term that we ultimately use, it's a term. And
Ntate Kekana, please tell our audience who are you and where you from.
Yeah, my name is Hendrik Peter Makute Kekana. I am a descendant of the Kekana royal clan from Kopane in Limpopo. My family came from Alexander. My father and my mother were teachers in Alexander and township, and we moved to Atteridgeville in Pretoria, not far from here, where I did my schooling. I started my elementary schooling in Alex, but I went for a full lower primary at Isaac Moore Lower Primary School in Atteridgeville, and I went to Mboweni Higher Primary and Hofmeyr High. So I consider myself a United Nation of townships.
All-rounded.
Yeah, all-rounder, because I grew up amongst people in Mamelodi, Atteridgeville, Soweto. Our family was part of the larger families that were moved in the 70s from Alex to Soweto and Tembisa. So my grandmother ended up with a house in Zone 6 in Soweto, where we all spend our holidays, school holidays. From Atteridgeville, we used to go into Soweto and Meadowlands. So, you end up with people in the neighborhoods thinking that you are one of them, which is a wonderful feeling, because I am very comfortable in Soweto because I'm one of them. I'm very comfortable in Alex, I'm one of them. Even more comfortable, go Peli, go Kas, and Garanku and Mamelodi. One of my favorite Rakadi. Everyone has a favorite Rakadi, which is your father's younger sister. I was in Mamelodi Kutifo, Kalanya Poemafa. So, almost every weekend I was in Mams because of my favorite Rakadi and her children. And, so people in Mams take me as one of their own, So I'm very grateful to have grown up amongst people.
Yeah, thank you very
so
much. What made you go into politics?
Yeah, look, I've always been a community leader. I've always considered myself in leadership positions. I chose the business route. I started getting involved in business at a very early age, early 20s. Even when we were younger and we were at school, we used to sell clothing. And so the roots of business have been in me since I was a toddler, from selling oranges and apples and growing into selling clothing at high school and varsity. And I followed my dream of running businesses. I've been running my own businesses for the last 23 years or so, under the banner of companies called the Venus companies, Planet Venus. So I've been involved in security services, physical security. I've been involved in airport security. I've been involved in mining, but more on an investment side. I've never really been an operator in the mining business. I've run logistics businesses within the brand, same brand, and also property development. I spent almost 10 years of my life at a company called Group 5. Everybody knows Group 5. We were being nurtured and being mentored within the Group 5 stable, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, when there was a feeling of freedom that was coming, and a lot of our comrades and leaders that came from exile in the early 90s were placed in different organizations to learn. So I've been a businessman all my life, and I tell you what, I've always had that kind of charitable element to myself, where I come from that kind of family where we believe that you cannot have a meal if your next door neighbor does not have a meal. And we grew up with those kind of parents. I think a lot of families, were like that back in the day, where where we were all taking care of one another, or our fathers and mothers and grandfathers were always making sure that the rest of the families around them are surviving. Why politics? Mainstream politics have always interested me. I've been involved in student politics back in the day, but I've always, been excited about political developments because I'm one of those that believe that politics of life and life of politics cannot be divorced. They cannot be separated. I hear a lot of people who say, I'm not a politician, I'm not interested in politics. And I always say to them, whatever you do, the street you drive on, the food you eat, and everything that you do, someone's going to be making decisions on your behalf. And the interest rates that you pay, everything that you do, someone is going to be making decisions on your behalf. And if you don't believe in politics, it's okay, nothing wrong with that. But remember that people are going to be making decisions on your behalf. So I need to get straight back to your question. 2014, South Africa went into elections, and prior to that, 7 years before that, the largest organization in the country went on a conference in Polokwane, and a few years prior, the previous president was fired by the other president. But what happened then, from 2005, 6, and leading to the Polokwane conference, we had elephants fighting and elephants hitting each other very hard. And the old saying that says, when two big elephants fight, the grass suffers. And that's precisely what has happened to this country. We've had factions within the larger party, the ruling party. We've had infighting, disregarding the economy, disregarding the people. And we have been on a downward spiral from about 2005, the year 2005, 2004. There's been a downward spiral on the economy. But where we got hit in a big way is immediately after the 2014 elections. The ruling party people were fighting, saying, this one is not my president. And then we all started joining at some point. Zuma must fall, Zuma must fall. And we're all having fun and saying, this man is not our president, he must go. But what we never took into consideration at that moment was that the image of South Africa internationally was fast becoming negative. And the whole world was seeing South Africa as not a place to go and invest any of your money. And, the stock market started losing, the JSE in particular, started losing investment. And a lot of the international corporations who had ideas of coming in to come and invest in the country, they delayed their investments. But the worst off is that the big corporates in South Africa, they started hoarding money. They started putting money away. They never reinvested in the economy. And we started losing jobs. So about 2015, a lot of our people started losing jobs. Companies started closing down. Industries started closing down. And we were busy singing Zuma must fall, Zuma, because we were focused on a regime change. And in Q1 of 2016, the first recession started hitting us. The South African economy contracted in Q1 of 2016. But the reason why it happened that it's because of the culmination of the negatives that were happening in 2015. And from Q1 2016, we have never really recovered. The South African economy has never really recovered. And lo and behold, 2020, 2019, there comes coronavirus. And in 2020, coronavirus just cemented what was a dying economy, and we went into big negatives. But the biggest issue that some of us noted was the matter of people losing jobs, factories closing, So, most of the time we try to blame the 9 wasted years and the this and the coronavirus. But there's been something that has been going on for many years. And obviously with the 2018 new dawn and the new regime within the large movement took over, we were all hopeful and we were all looking forward to a new way of doing things, and nothing happened. We all know. I mean, nothing personal to anybody, but nothing happened. Things just got worse and worse and worse. So we took a decision in about 2015 to set up an organization called a Basic Income Grant South Africa non-profit company. So we were never going into politics. That was never our intention to become politicians. It was always a situation where we say, okay, let's go and lobby the powers that are there. Let's go and lobby the senior people that are in parliament and in government and businesses as well, large businesses. But it's difficult, how many organizations are there and how many organizations can get a hearing? Not many, because we are many that are trying to make a difference. We got a hearing from some senior people, and I have to give it to President Zuma, Jacob Zuma. At that time when he was president, he gave us a hearing. And, President Kalma Matlante is one of the people that gave us a hearing. And some of the senior people, except obviously with the current situation, we're not complaining and blaming anybody, because when we tried to make contact with some of the senior people, we were told to please give them an opportunity to find their feet and find themselves. But the situation got worse and worse. I mean, people talk about the bloodbath of unemployment in South Africa. So in 2021, immediately after the July, or during the July 2021 riots, which were labeled coup d'etat or insurrection, and President Ramaphosa even made a comment at the time that it's ethnic violence, and so people were trying to put a label on what we call poverty and hunger riots, because that was precisely what it was. The 2021 riots in South Africa, in Gauteng and mainly KZN, were hunger and poverty riots. So that at that moment we decided.
What convinces you?
Is because if you look at what actually transpired during that time, people look at it as if it was triggered by the Zuma arrest, and
hence they labeled it ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, so they call it ethnic cleansing. They call it ethnic violence, but
ethnic mobilization, by the way.
Yeah, ethnic mobilization. But if you look at how the riots started spreading around South Africa, it had nothing to do with Jacob Zuma. We don't think so. Had nothing to do with ethnicity, because the people in Soweto and most of the people. So it was not only Zulu-speaking people who got involved in the riots. It was just a trigger. And if you look at the international, even from the French Revolution back then with Marie Antoinette and all those Kilui and the rest of them, there's always a trigger that triggers the Arab Spring, for instance.
The trigger,
yes.
You are
Yes.
correct. The trigger was the incarceration of the ex-president,
Yes.
who relied on his Zulu protection called Amabutu at the time, because they needed to be calmed down. They were doing a human shield. They
Sure.
came there to protect him.
Sure.
And they promised that should he be arrested,
Yes.
they are not going to take it lying down.
Yes.
And whether correctly or incorrectly, that's why it was the July unrest were labeled that they were ethnic mobilization.
Yeah.
So I'm still at pains to hear you characterizing it otherwise and linking it directly to poverty.
Yes.
Yeah.
We, remember we were immediately coming out of lockdowns. We were immediately coming out of people losing, hundreds of thousands of people losing jobs. And that's all we needed, whether correctly or not. I mean, I don't support Amabuto and I don't support Jacob Zuma, but we are of the opinion that it is a trigger that people were waiting for. And we're sitting on a time bomb at this moment, because we are of the opinion that if we don't sort out the issues of hunger and poverty and unemployment, we will have a repeat of what happened in 2021. So I don't want to get into the politics of the Amabuto or whether Jacob Zuma was supposed to go to prison or not. I mean, it's not in my space to criticize or to support. At no point we want to get involved. But we say the fact of the matter is that you're sitting with an unemployment rate which is close to half, 48%, if you take the normal counting, almost 50% of people in South Africa are unemployed. We are sitting with 13.8 million South Africans who are suffering from food poverty. They don't have food, and they're struggling to make ends meet. And we're sitting with the 64% youth unemployment in Gauteng, 55% nationally. And then the pointers are pointing in the wrong direction in terms of what the nation should be and in terms of whether we're taking care of our people or not. So we're sitting there, and our interest is really on saying, let us introduce what we call a universal basic income to resolve our socio-economic problems and socio-political problems. So what we did is that
Before you say what you did,
yes.
I wanted to understand when you guys formed Big SA as a non-profit company at the time.
At the time, yeah.
Quoting you directly. So what was the intention then? Because you said you went and
the intent was to help people to fight hunger and poverty.
How?
Fight hunger and poverty through an introduction.
So what, like maybe gift of the givers as a charity token? I just want to understand.
Yes, yeah. So we were not looking at ourselves as a charity organization.
What year was it?
2015.
2015.
Yeah, 2015.
So what is it that you were doing?
The intent was to say to government, introduce a universal basic income. So you lobby a government.
So you were a lobby group.
We were a lobby group.
Advancing for
an universal basic income.
Yeah, an increase in types of grants, introduction of new grants. What was it?
No. I always try to separate, the issue of the grants. It's a totally separate issue. When we say basic income grant South Africa, we are not looking at your typical SASSA grant. Okay, we are saying your typical SASSA grant in terms of the child support grant and the pensions and any other, disability grant, they are housed under a welfare program. And that is fine, nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're not criticizing the grants. It's necessary, it's keeping people alive. 18.5 million people on grants currently in South Africa. It's fine, no issue with that. We came up with what we call an economic intervention. So you don't consider it a grant, although we might call it a grant, and I'll tell you why we call it there. We say,
maybe define a grant for us.
Yeah, well, let me tell you. I'm not going to define a grant. I'm going to define what we're promoting.
Okay.
What we are promoting is what we call an economic intervention. It is not a grant. The true name or proper name for our organization should have been Basic Income Guarantee. Okay? That's the real proper name of our organization. It should be called a Basic Income Guarantee or Universal Basic Income. So we had to look at our situation in the country and the understanding of certain terms and meanings. So if we came up with a political party called, or even a lobby group called a Basic Income Guarantee, then people will be thinking furniture shops and, pick and pay guarantees and my mother guaranteeing my installment on my house and my car. So that for us was a big no-no, because the original big is actually a basic income guarantee. A government guarantees a fund that will support the universal basic income. So that is exactly what it is. But because we thought people understand grants more, and anyway, in this country, there's something that has been, since 1999 or 1998, President Thabo Mbeki and the late Minister Zola Sikweya, they came up with this basic income grant program, which they wanted to introduce to Parliament. I'm sure you know about it.
No, I don't.
Yeah, there's already in 1999 there was a green paper and a brown paper. You know how we do it in this country, leading to almost a proclamation. In 1999-2000, Thabo Mbeki spoke about a basic income grant for unemployed people in 1999 of 110 rand a month at that time. So it's not a new concept. And if you look at the universal basic income and the basic income grant, or whatever term that we ultimately use, it's a term and a concept that has been around since the 1400s, 1500s, and gained prominency in the 1800s. But most notably, the luminaries that have made it more popular was people like Martin Luther King.
I'm concerned. I mean, now we're caught in semantics now.
No, sure. Yeah.
And what I wanted to understand is you are a 9-year-old political party.
We are a 2-year-old, not even 9.
You are a 9-year-old you are a 9-year-old organization.
Lobby group.
Yeah, an organization that entered into politics 2 years ago.
Yes.
Is that the right framing?
Yes, yeah.
So what have you been doing the previous 9 years of your existence?
Yeah, remember you wear different caps at different times.
Okay.
And so in the 7 years, let's say from 2015, 2016, we've been lobbying, because that was really what we were meant to be, and nothing else. We don't come and pretend like we were giving people food parcels. Or that's not what we were formed for.
Okay.
Our interest was to lobby government to implement a universal basic income. So for the first 7 years of existence, that's what we were doing, and talking to people, and getting a lot of hearing, I must say. And in the last 2 years, less than 2 years, 23 months.
Hold it there.
Okay.
You were afforded audience by lots of people. You mentioned Thabo Mbeki, did you?
No.
You mentioned Jacob Zuma, and you said Kgalema Motlanthe.
And a few other senior officials. Yeah.
Yes. So what did it bear fruit, and it was just promises?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was giving us a hearing, being polite to us, and nothing was implemented.
Yes. So was it because they felt, I'm just assuming, they felt the program you're running, there's a parallel one inside government, because there's a ministry that does such things, for example.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, was it malice? Do you think was it malice,
No,
it was just that the programs are taken care by government?
I think it was a lack of interest.
Okay.
Because it was really a lack of interest. Because, people look at you and say, what is this one on about?
Yeah.
Because, and that's where the misunderstanding between our program and the SASSA programs, because we are not in that space. We're not in the grant space. We are in the economic intervention space. Do you understand? So
I'm still lost.
Yeah. Okay.
I have to tell you, yes.
Okay. I'll try and explain it some more.
Please do.
We say.
But don't lose your trail of thought. We're explaining the first 7 years, and the next 2 before you are.
Yeah. So I won't lose that. I'm saying, a universal basic income is not a grant. Okay. It is an economic intervention. So it's not a welfare intervention. It is. Do you pick up the difference?
No, I'm just hoping at this point, maybe our listeners understand what you are talking about.
Yeah. So we say this particular program that we are pushing, number one, it has to help the economy grow. So that's the first thing. We're looking for economic growth, taking out, and in the current economy, it's sitting in ICU. But our South African economy is in ICU with a growth of less than 1%.
That's media political speak. We've had that a long time ago.
But do you agree that it's less than 1%? We know.
Well, with growth being projected every year, I don't know where we are. I can only tell by what the media says how much are we growing this year.
Stats SA. Do you believe in Stats SA? And
of course. Those are scientific numbers.
Go into Statistic XA, and Stats SA will tell you the South African economy in 2023-24 grew by a 0.6%.
Okay.
That's not media talk.
Yes.
That's Stats SA. And those are the numbers we rely on. So, and we say only a growing economy can create jobs. There's nothing that can create jobs, because only an active economy that's growing actively can create jobs.
Used to grow at around 5.5 to 6 with Trevor Manuel and Tito Mboweni. They still did not have jobs.
They did.
And they came under the hammer from the SACP and COSATU because they could not create jobs.
But look at the graphs in terms of unemployment.
All I'm saying is...
Look at the graphs in terms of unemployment, because we say at a 4-5% growth, you are likely to grow to maintain the jobs that we have, because there's a lot of economic activity. Okay? You believe that?
Well, I'm listening.
Yeah, okay. It's okay. Remember, you don't have to agree or believe. Yeah. But at the 4-5%, you are looking at a situation where people can maintain jobs. For instance, let me give you an example. A lot of our jobs are within the retail industry. With this Stats SA 0.6% economic growth, you can see organizations are closing. They're shutting doors because they don't have enough customers. So that part we're comfortable with, and we're straightforward about it. So whether you believe or not that a growing economy will create jobs or not, you and I can sit and debate the whole night. But you believe, and we believe in this thing. So we say the only way to create economic activity is by making funds available in the hands of the consumers, so that the consumers can survive. So you do two things with this economic intervention, not a grant, not your normal SASSA grant, economic intervention that you're talking about. We're saying you use that, firstly, to keep the economy active and active enough so that you are able to have entrepreneurs, you have people starting new businesses, and you excite the economy. And hopefully you excite the economy up to a point where the economy can start creating jobs.
So let me do this.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I realize I'm getting lost.
Yes.
So you have said economic intervention more than 7 times.
Yeah, okay.
And I still don't understand it.
Okay.
And so what I want you to do is maybe let's break it down in terms, because already you do have fans.
Yes,
you do have followers, you do have potential voters.
Sure.
And I think the intention here is for you to speak to those on the fence.
Yes.
Those who have not heard of you and who think maybe this is... So let's go directly and speak the language they understand.
Yeah, sure.
Basic income grant.
Yes.
BICSA.
Yes.
Big South Africa.
Yeah.
Says it wants to offer South Africans 3,500 per month.
Yes.
Tell me, who are those people who will get that?
Okay. Basic Income Grant South Africa, Big SA, wants to offer anyone who is South African, so everybody, not anyone, sorry, everyone who is a South African citizen and they are of an age 26 and upwards. We want to offer them 3,500 per month, whether you are employed or unemployed.
Do you know what numbers are those?
Yeah.
How many?
In total, people above the age of 18 are 41 million at this moment, according to Stats SA.
Wait.
Yeah.
From 18
to to the oldest citizen
Okay.
in South Africa are 41 million. And the breakdown says from age 18 to 25, you're looking at 15 million on average, plus minus. It's going to be a little bit into the 15 and a little less. So approximately 15 million, just to round it up. 15 million South Africans are between the age of 18 and 25. And 26, and the oldest citizen in South Africa are therefore about 16 million. So 16 million South Africans are aged above 26. Okay? No, sorry, 15 million South Africans are aged above
60.
eh?
60. 60.
No, 16. So let's change it again.
Okay.
I say to you, 15 million South Africans are above 26. So 26 to the oldest. So 1.5.
Okay.
And no, I mix it up. Sorry. 15 million South Africans are between ages of 18 to 25. 1.5. No? 1.5. And 16 million, 1.6, 26 and above. So if you I must get the numbers.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay, sorry. It's 15 million South Africans above the age of 18 to 25, and the rest of them, 26 million, are above the age of 26. So until the oldest.
Okay.
No, you got it now.
Yes, I get it, but it's still flimsy.
These are Stats SA numbers. Sorry, I got it a little bit mixed up. I'm saying 15 million South Africans are aged between 18 and.
The reason I wanted those numbers is for obvious reasons.
Yes.
I want to see who have you earmarked for this.
We say, okay,
3,500.
Let me tell you the overall.
Yes.
The overall is if you are aged 18 up to the oldest citizen, you'll qualify. Okay?
If you're from 18 years.
18 to the oldest citizen, you qualify. You'll qualify for universal basic income. Okay? And then from age 18 to 25, you qualify for 1,500 rand. For basics.
Those are the breakdowns I wanted.
Yes,
So the basic one is 18 to 26.
18 to 25.
18 to 25 years.
8 to 25
they
is
get 1,500
rand,
and then
universal basic income. And then from 26 to the oldest citizen is a 3,500.
3,500.
And all citizens, whether you are employed or unemployed.
So if you are earning 50,000.
If you are earning 2 million.
If you're earning 2 million, you still have this 3,500.
You still get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, for most of us, we may not understand because of the way we grew.
Yeah.
And you have made the science behind it.
Yes.
That's why you call it guarantees. The intention is to stimulate the economy to grow in a way that it will be functional and the money will pay itself. This is my understanding.
Yeah. Yes.
So these numbers, 1,500 are the young is 18 to 25.
Yes.
And then
26
to the oldest.
Yeah.
So
3,500.
you have two types, right?
Yes, two categories.
The younger and the 26-year-olds.
Yes. Young adults.
Adults.
And old adults, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much are we talking about here?
We worked out the numbers. You're looking at about 1.25 trillion per annum.
Okay. Wait.
Yes.
Per annum is?
1.25 trillion.
1.25
trillion, yeah.
And SARS got back around, is it 2.1 this year?
2.1, yes.
2.1.
Yes.
And how much is the minister sitting with every January when he breaks down his speech?
Yeah.
How much does he sit with?
Yeah, okay. let us explain.
Because I want to understand
Yes,
these numbers.
I like it. I'm happy with your questioning.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, because then it clears for other people that are for them to be able to understand. There's a current tax regime which involves pay as you earn, we call it PIT, personal income tax, VAT, customs, and corporate income tax. That is the 2.1 trillion that we are talking about.
Yes.
That's what
They collected.
the current tax regime collects. We are proposing a parallel taxation called a universal sales tax.
Oh,
We are not looking at the current tax regime,
Okay.
the 2.1 trillion. Otherwise, we'll be gobbling more than 50% of that.
Okay.
So we're saying,
yes. I'm interested in that one.
we're
Yes.
saying separate
Okay.
and don't touch.
So
Yeah.
this current regime that SARS is running
Is
continues as is.
continuous assets.
As is,
We
okay.
don't touch it. There's some proviso suggestions
Okay.
and proposals that we have on the current tax regime.
Explain the next one.
Okay, but I want to start with the parallel. And the parallel is called a universal sales tax. Remember, government has only a few avenues of raising funding. And the biggest avenue of raising funding is through a taxation. Although, there's debt and bonds and many other things that one can look at. But we're looking at taxation. So we're looking at a parallel tax called a universal sales tax. Okay? Universal sales tax, what we're proposing is that if you're buying a bottle of, let's say, a tin of cool drink or juice or whatever, and it costs you 10 rand, we are proposing that we add a number to that. And that number, we're currently speaking between a 150 to a 220. Okay? But
That's over. That's besides the 15% VAT.
you see, you need to park the current tax regime. You and I must agree.
No.
Okay,
The reason I want to follow you,
I want to.
I don't want to be lost so far that I can't keep up.
No.
Yes.
Okay. I'm a lecturer.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm very patient.
Thank you for understanding.
I'm very patient.
Yeah.
And you can see how I talk. I'm so relaxed.
Yes.
So the VAT and the pay as you earn personal income tax and
It stays.
as is. We
Thank
don't touch that.
Yes.
We're going to touch that later.
Okay, thanks.
But for now, let's say we put it in the drawer and
Yes.
we close it out.
We can it.
We don't can it. We pack it nicely.
We shelf it.
Yeah, shelf it nicely so
Okay,
it's
sharp.
still fine. No issues. The universal sales tax is a separate tax altogether,
Okay.
over and above all other taxes, over and above the VAT and the rest of them. And the universal sales tax, let's say as an example, we're talking about a 2 rand on a 10 rand bottle of juice or tin of juice. The 2 rand, the extra 2 rand that we are proposing, that is what is going to fund the universal basic income. So you're creating that pot with that money where everybody shares equally. Everybody between the ages of 18 and 25, they share equally, whether they are employed or not. They have to be South Africans, by the way. And everyone above 26 share equally, whether they earn R1 million or they earn 10 rand per month. So that is where we are.
Stay there.
Yes.
Who pays that 25%?
Everyone pays a till point when you buy goods, all goods and services in South Africa are going to be levied. So if you go to a Pick n Pay or any supermarket and you buy your groceries, there's going to be a number called VAT on your till slip and another number called UST on your till slip.
It's fine. Hold it there.
Yeah.
Let's say a typical example.
Yes.
So, in economics, people use the McDonald's burger.
Yes.
All over the world, how much it costs.
Yes.
So in South Africa, let's be let's be township, let's be Kasi.
Yeah.
A can of Dragon, I think, cost 10 rand.
Dragon, yeah. Okay.
Yes. As is.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, DJ's Boo, for not using yours.
Yeah.
So can of Dragon costs
Or more fire.
10 rand. Yes.
More fire, yeah.
Okay, it's fine. Let's use more fire.
Yeah.
Yes, more fire.
Yes.
Yeah, DJ's Boo, it costs 10 rand.
Yes.
As we speak, as is.
Yes.
Gadla, you introduce, it gazetted, everything is fine. It
Yes.
passes all the necessary papers.
Sure.
It's still 10 rand.
Yes.
It's still 10 rand.
Uh-huh.
Now midnight kicks, and then we have enacted, then we start. Is it still 10 rand, or the manufacturers, the logistics people, everyone are going to hoy in their money to add that 10 rand? Because I'm asking the most basic one.
Yes.
It's retailing at 10 rand normally.
Yeah.
Now you have hoyed in an extra
2 rand.
2.50.
It's now not 2.50. Let's say 2 rand. Yeah.
Okay, 20%.
Yeah.
Ufakile 2 rands on that.
Yes.
So can Elia 10 rand equal 12 rands?
Yes.
Okay, no, that's what I wanted to
simple.
understand.
Yeah. We don't want to get involved with manufacturers and
Okay.
those people, because they'll always. Business people will always take chances because they are into profit.
Okay. No, I
So
understand.
we are not part of the value chain in terms of manufacturing and producing. But we say, here's an item, it's 10 rand, more fire.
Mm-hmm.
Midnight on the 22nd of May, where next year is 12 rand.
Oh, okay.
The 2 rand is what we are taking to fund the universal basic income.
Have you, so we use terms in politics like benchmarking.
Yes.
And, remember Tabombek used to do peer review mechanisms just
Yes.
to go and see what other people are doing, peer-to-peer, we check. Have you seen this model working anywhere?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of countries, especially after the coronavirus lockdowns and the scourge, that have been trying to implement. But a lot of other countries have been doing it in different manners and different ways. Like, for instance, in Alaska, the Alaska have what they call the citizens' dividend. And the citizens' dividend in Alaska, every year, they have a parastatal, a SOE, like a Petro SA, because they rely a lot on fossil fuels and those kind of things that they produce as a state. And what they do is that they give their citizens what they call a citizens' dividend, once off per annum. And theirs is ridiculous. It's like $30,000 or something per annum. No more, it's 90,000. And if you look at the U.S., the United States have been doing it for time immemorial, but they call it stimulus. They call it economic stimulus because they don't want to confuse it. They call it as economic stimulus. 3 to 4 years, different states of the 50 United States of the United States of America, they give people what they call the paycheck. And they call it different terms in different parts of the U.S. And that has been done for the last 30, 40, 50 years. And what happens is that the difference is that they focus on unemployed people and welfare. So what they do is that when the economy falters and they are at the point where they feel like they need to inject activity into the economy, then everyone else gets a once-off $40,000 and stuff. And they insist on you not putting it in the bank. They insist on you spending that money. Because if you don't spend it, it disappears within a certain time. And that's why people buy groceries and they buy tin stuff and they do their hair and they get very excited because it's got a deadline. And that is called, in the US, it's called economic stimulus. And in the UK, the toll system has been there for the rest, since we knew how they operate. There are many other countries who are doing what we are proposing, but calling it different names. Yeah, and I know there's a political party in South Korea last year or 2 years ago when they had their elections. They relied on the universal basic income as a way of reviving the economy. And, so many places around the world. In fact, one of the dreams that we have long term is to say the rest of the continent in Africa must introduce a universal basic income, especially our next door neighbors, Lesotho, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and those countries, so that their people don't end up in South Africa looking for greener pastures.
So let me tell you what was of interest for this podcast.
Yes.
I have had a lot of people speaking. Every 7 minutes, 5 minutes, they will include the ANC and what are the government failures.
Yes.
What I like about this is you are stuck on solution-driven.
Yeah.
You bring solutions, and of course, you do understand that people, maybe they've already told you that you have smoked something.
Yeah, many times.
Yes, so these naysayers...
But what we smoke is very
Yes,
nice. Yeah.
So those naysayers, to an extent that they're not even going to give you an opportunity to do what you are doing practically.
True that.
What they would rather do is, I was speaking to Minister Lindiwe Zulu.
Yeah.
She said to me, they introduced various grants and stuff while the opposition were telling the ANC that all these things are not sustainable, you must stop it, cut it off, you are going to deplete the country resources and stuff, while the ANC government believed these were economic stimuluses and stuff.
Sure.
She says now, these people who were opposing them, they are now coming up with their own strategies of the same thing they said it will never work.
True that.
And this is why I say it's not going to be easy for you.
Yes, true.
Yes, it's not going to be easy for you.
We don't expect it to be.
Yes.
Easy. I think being a pioneer.
Yeah.
And being a navigator.
Of course.
People look at you. We all used to look at our parents.
Yes.
And we think, what's wrong with this old man?
Yes.
Why is he behaving like this?
Yes.
Because at our age and when we were small, we did not understand what he was seeing. And anything, it's like people going to the moon or Elon Musk going to Mars and all those, the pioneers of the world are always looked at as if they are not normal. But the interesting thing is that, and sorry that I interrupted you, we don't speak ANC, we don't speak DA, we don't speak EFF, we don't have issues with their policies, we don't even want to look at them. We are focused on hunger and poverty. And we say, if we can implement this program, everybody else will live happily ever after.
Thank you very much. 1,500 from 18 years to 25. 26 until forever, it's 3,500 rands per month.
Yes.
And this thing you anticipate to cost you around $1.6 trillion.
And 2.5,
Yeah, $1.2 trillion.
Yeah, 1.25,
Yeah, so around there.
Yeah.
So these are big numbers, guys.
Yes.
What I like about this is those who are going to criticize you will criticize you without punching the numbers.
Yes.
And they will not say you are lying because these numbers, no one will give you a chance in government to do it practically and see if it works.
Yeah.
You'll remember when we spoke last time,
Yes.
I said the government has failed to close control measures.
Yes.
So control measures will be how easy our passport is acquired.
Yes.
And.
True.
Yes. So I want you to explain it, the banking system, how you're going to roll it out, because now I'm asking you questions that people are sitting. So,
Yeah.
So please answer that.
You've been very resolute on that particular one.
Yes.
I think I'd like to take an opportunity because some of the people that have interviewed us. I was talking to a lady last week. And she kept on saying, "Is it the only thing that you're thinking about? Is it the only thing that you're thinking about?" And I said to her, we are the only political party in South Africa that has a solution to the 300 or 400 social issues.
Thank you.
And I said to her, we have condensed the 300, 400 issues. I even give an example about my brothers who were launching their manifesto in Moses Mabhida. They had 255 pages of a manifesto. And when you have a 255 pages of manifesto, you have taken almost 90% of the social challenges that we have in this country. So we've taken all of that and condensed it into what we call the 7 mandates of Big SA. Like other people have 7 pillars and 15 this and 12 this and 2 that, you know. So we have what we call 7 mandates of Big SA, and we say our focus is condensing the 300 issues into no more hunger, no more poverty, no more unemployment, no more illegal immigration, no more crime, no more corruption, and no more unwanted and teenage pregnancies. So we're focusing on that.
Okay.
And we're saying we're using this tool, the tractor, Mohoma, called a universal basic income, to fight these issues.
Thank you. Don't forget the intervention, your bank, how you're going to use the banks.
Now I'm coming to that. I wanted to steal a moment.
Okay, sharp, no problem.
Because, you know, maybe I'm not going to be given an opportunity again to be here, but we'll always be here. So I wanted just to steal the moment, because it just crossed my mind to say there was this particular lady who was saying to me, Kekan, you're only focusing on this universal. I said, we're also focusing. You know, if you listen to we're launching our manifesto on the 11th of May, Saturday, 11th of May. And, you know, if you listen to the...
Don't be afraid, tell them where.
Okay. I didn't want to... Can I use this thing?
Yes, please.
So I did not want to...
Is it yours?
Yeah, it's mine.
Okay, no, I wanted to offer you.
Get a clean one. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So the lights also.
Yeah, no,
but anyway, we're having our manifesto launch on the 11th of May at the Orlando Communal Hall. For those who've been to Orlando Stadium, it's Upper Orlando. On the Upper Orlando side of the stadium, on Orlando Communal Hall, on the 11th of May. And if you have a chance, you must pop in, please, because I know you have or send some of your people. So we come back to the manner of to say, how do you make sure that there are no duplications? I don't know whether Minister Lindiwe Zulu told you about how many people are earning SASSA grants that are not supposed to get.
And goes as well.
Think about NSFAS, you know, where parents decide that they're unemployed, and yet we know they have businesses. So because they're running their own business, they can declare themselves unemployed because no one has registered them anywhere. And the people who can really afford to take their children through university, they're claiming NSFAS. So we say, unfortunately for us, the only place where you think and you seem to have a cover in terms of gaps not happening is the current banking system. Because even people with fake IDs and fake passports are not able to open bank accounts. I don't know whether you know, but it's not foolproof.
We just know FICA to be working hard for us, but easy for criminals. That's all we know.
Yeah, but if you take one of the things these days, if you buy property or go through the banking system, it's almost like you're writing a PhD exam. They give you these questions and that questions and how many times you've been married and how many times you died and those kind of things.
I want you to close it.
Let's close it by saying we are going to use the current banking system. So government guarantee, basic income guarantee, government guarantees money through the banks. They pay the money into the banks, and the banks issue a card, no cash, because you know the cash will end up in Pakistan and Somalia. So the bank issues a card, a special card not tied to your bank account. A special card for Mashiane to say, okay, here's your universal basic income card, which you go and buy what you need with it for three and a half thousand. Whatever you buy. So there's no limit on what you can buy, or whether you want to buy a hairpiece or earrings, or as long as you swipe, because we want the money back into the system.
Okay.
Because if we don't swipe, then the money will not go back into the system. So we are saying the only way to stop illegal foreigners and people that are not South African citizens to access that fund is through the current banking system.
You do know that students nearby shops, spaza shops included, they wait there with their cards. They say, whenever you want to buy something, they say, give me the money, I'll swipe for you.
Yeah. You remember the 80-20 rule, Pareto rule, that says the engineers will talk about that. They say, if you sort out 20% of the problems, 80% of the other problems become easier, or projects. With the 90-10 rule, it says, you will always have the 10% that misbehaves. Whether they buy alcohol or they do whatever and they do wrong things with that money or the cards, we must not focus on the 10%, because the 90% will suffer because of the 10%. Once we sorted the 90%,
yes,
then we can start policing the 10% that misbehaves.
All right, Sharp. Another question for them to know you better.
Yes.
How much how big a budget have you ever controlled?
Myself?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Of course, not in your individual capacity. Maybe if you are director of a company,
I've been in massive businesses. I mean, I used to be what they used to call me the landlord at Group 5, because I was controlling all the land.
Okay.
For Group 5, when I was still working there, when I was still younger and handsome, they had land holdings around the country worth billions, and I was responsible for that.
Okay.
In my businesses, I mean, we've hit more than the 200 million mark, 250, the highest personal. I didn't want, we don't want to disclose those kind of issues.
Don't worry.
In public, but I think the beauty of getting into politics, coming from a successful business career, is we're trying to encourage more business people and more business people who have sort of made it to get into the political space. Because the other way around, political careers from scratch are too reliant on the political salary.
Yes.
And if you are too reliant on the political salary and you look at the cookie jar and there's 12 cookies in the jar, and you think, let me take one bakasimpone. So that's what we are trying to discourage. So in terms of budgets, I mean, I have a limitless brain. I'm a trained finance person. So whether it's a 1.2 billion, or I can add another 1.2 to be a trillion, or it's not an issue.
Explain your financial training and background while we're at it.
Yeah, I trained as an accountant at the Wits University. I have a master's in business administration. I'm an elite MBA graduate of the...
Not just MBA.
The elite. When Wits was number one, almost internationally. I think we were within the top 10. In the mid-90s, when I graduated in
before dubious MBAs could be fashionable.
Before people could write assignments for UNISA students. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry.
Okay, I must apologize. I'm withdrawing.
It's important. I'll tell you why. So what I don't want is people to use your lack of political credentials to thwart your political ambitions.
Sure.
We have seen it, the 30 years that we've been in.
We appreciate that,
It says we should actually welcome people who have not went to struggle.
Yes.
When we say struggle to the kids, let's explain what struggle to the kids means. It means exile.
Yes. No, I've been accused. I've been a member of the ANC for many, many years. And
Yes.
I came from the student politics. I was very close to Peter Makaba,
Yes.
Stan Matabate, Chief Matebe. So we come from the Northern Transvaal
Yes.
Student Union.
Yes.
And I think I always stand in front of current politicians.
Yes.
And when they start trying to talk about struggle credentials, I always say to them, "Na ke kgabulilo ho feta lena." It doesn't mean that suddenly you are a secretary of a province or
Yes.
secretary of a
Yeah.
branch. You are more important than.
Yes.
So it comes with experience. So
So that's-
fortunately, I've been in the political space.
Good.
I've supported the military. I've been involved in military support. Even during the struggle in the 80s and 90s, so I'm well known.
Yeah.
I went to Simapen to go and get my first number, and I was refused my first number because they said I never wore uniform. So, and yet we delivered cars,
Yeah.
vehicles, and we're doing a lot of support at a young age.
Yes.
Even our parents didn't know where we were. I
Yeah.
mean, we could have been killed back in the day.
Yeah.
So I stand with very, not arrogance, but with firmness
Yes.
to those who try to
To downplay your political credentials.
my political credentials and
Yeah.
where I come from. But I remember Cyril Ramaphosa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, in 1997 already, when people were saying he was never in exile, and he made a joke. He says, people who were sitting under a tree eating madongomane are saying I was never in exile. so I try not to get involved in those kind of debates. But when the opportunity comes, I was told one MEC to say, you know what, I can take you to political school and I can teach you the groundings and the teachings of Oliver Reginald Tambo and Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. One of my favorite struggle stalwart that people never speak about is Jeff Masemola. Because if you grew up in Atteridgeville, I grew up in a street called Makgatu Street, and I came from number 46 Makgatu, and their house was number 26. When Jeff Masemola, I was not born yet, was arrested, the longest serving prisoner on Robben Island. You don't know that. It's such a bad thing for our history, because we write history according to what Thabo Mbeki says, what Jacob Zuma says, or what this one says. But the fact of the matter is that Jeff Masemola, is the longest serving political prisoner on Robben Island. And our history never talks about it, because what? He came from the Pan-African National Congress, PAC. And he is the founder of the PAC Liberation Army. And nobody talks about him. But I say he's one of my favorite, inspiration. When he was arrested to go to Robben Island, he was a teacher at the school called Banaring School before I was born. And my father was a school principal. So I wanted to understand the kind of upbringing that I came up with. We were black consciousness. We only knew the ANC after 1976. You know that. And I never wanted to speak about the ANC, but I thought, let me throw it in.
Sure.
In 1976, when the student riots and the student uprisings happened, it was nothing to do with the ANC. In fact, the ANC were complaining in exile to say, we are busy negotiating a settlement, and these rascals are starting an uprising. Now the same people are trying to celebrate the uprisings of 1976. So if I go into political talk and I go into political history, I'm going to bore you to death, because I'm sitting with loads and loads and loads of history. In 1992, 93, when Codesa was taking place after Nelson Mandela and then came out of prison, Nelson Mandela, Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela, and Walter Sisulu back then had a meeting with a professor called Dr. Nick Benedel. And Dr. Nick Benedel is the current director and founder of the Gibbs Business School. People don't know where these things come from, but the Gibbs Business School is a business school that was started on behalf of the Pretoria University in Rosebank because they didn't want it to be seen as an Afrikaans type of business school. So they put it in Rosebank, but it's a faculty of the University of Pretoria. And Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu and Nick Benedel looked at us youngsters at the time. We were in our 20s, some of them, some of the older guys were in their 30s, in the mid-90s. And they said, there are leaders that have been involved in the struggle. And our generation is called the Klipgoeiers. We're sitting with Klipgoeiers who need to be running a country pretty soon. We are negotiating a settlement in the CODESA. And therefore, we need people to go back to university and go back to business school to understand the different economic theories, different economic practicalities, different types of intervention in terms of governance and management. And at the time, I chose to go with Nick Benedel set up a school called the PNDM in the early 90s, Adverse Business School. I think it's still there. I haven't been there in a while. And I chose to go the business route because I always had that inkling and the activity and the experience within business. And that's why I ended up with a master's in business administration. And I also did the EDP. I feel very strong. I'm a strong finance person. And I love economics. So I argue openly about Keynesian economics and Smithsonian and communism as opposed to socialism. People think it's the same thing because people like to throw terms around. And capitalism. So we, as Big SA, we say we are the big capitalists. We are more capitalists. We've been accused of being socialists with our program simply because we want to take the poor out of poverty. And we say we want to create more billionaires than ever before. Because when the economy is growing and when people set up businesses, we need to hold them by the hand and teach them how to do this and how to balance the books and how to pay tax and how to do that and that.
Thank you very much. So I want to close, but
Yes.
I'm tempted to ask you this question.
Yeah.
So
You are always welcome to ask questions, yeah.
They quote the following countries whenever
Yes.
they speak about socialism.
Yes.
And of course, it is extreme communism.
Yeah.
Russia failed.
Yeah.
Okay, let's fairly say USSR failed.
Yes.
Cuba failed.
Yeah.
China survived the failure by remodeling its socialism
Sure.
inside, I don't know, inside a capitalist workings.
True.
Can you explain if communism is a sustainable government thing?
I think we need to move with the times. The world has evolved. These are not the times of the Bible, and the world has evolved, and the world has evolved towards democracy and freedom. But the democracy and freedom, as opposed to, remember, communism was always seen as opposed to, as one against the democracy. But it's not like that.
It's actually like that. But let's not debate.
Okay, it is not really like that. I think South Africa is a country that fell into a trap where we practice what we call pure democracy. And there's nothing called pure democracy in the world. And you can see kids assaulting teachers, and even at the basic thing, a lousy example like that. It's because we are saying, no, human rights and this and that. There must be discipline. So communism is not a bad system, provided it evolves with the times. Where we stand, we see ourselves as a center-left kind of party, more progressive because we're worried about people on the ground, and as compared to others who are pretending to be extreme left. But they still wear Gucci's and drive Mercedes-Benz.
But you agree capitalism and democracy feed off each other?
Yeah, but I'm saying, even in countries, South Africa is a very bad example of democracy in terms of human rights, because what we do, we've taken something that was created by someone else, and we've taken it to the extreme, where people misbehave, they go to jail, they get fed, they wear the clothes, they get to study, they come out. So I'm saying to you, I come from a generation that do not believe that communism is bad, but communism also had to evolve with the times. And I say we're sitting in extremes here in South Africa, where, like for instance, in big SA, we believe in government intervention. We don't believe in the free market system, because if you talk democracy and capitalism, some people take it to way extremes, where they say we don't want to pay tax and the government can't tell us. We say government, business, and society need each other. But who's important amongst the three? The most important of the three is human beings, society, and citizens.
Let's go back to your political campaign. I'm
Yes.
going to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
You ask them.
Okay, you must not start with those kind of concepts, because we have,
Yes.
you can hear,
Yes.
I have an opinion.
Yes, that's why I want to go back to your political
Sure.
campaign. I want to ask you a few questions,
Yes.
so you answer them as we close.
Yeah, sure.
Which provinces are you running?
We're currently doing only Gauteng
Okay.
as a start.
Thank you.
I can't miss this one.
Okay,
I
please
like to
go.
quote Frank Sinatra. If you can crack it in New York, you can crack it anywhere in the world.
Okay.
We say, if you can crack it in Gauteng, you can crack it anywhere in South Africa.
Are you not going to the National Assembly?
We chose not to.
Okay. Are you an independent?
We're not an independent. We're a
So
political party.
So you are hoping you've got a list, and you want to. Are you contesting Panyazali Sufi?
Yeah, yes, I am
You are
contesting to be a
contesting
premier
Sufi.
of Gauteng. I avoid putting. Did you hear our brother on the other debate say, I will be premier, whether you like it or not. So we want to avoid that kind of.
By the way, that's Solum Simang.
Yeah, we don't want to be that desperate.
Yes.
We say, people, we have a solution we want to implement. Please vote for us as a party. KK Kekana is the leader of the party, and he will be premier with the wishes of the voters. Not I will be premier.
Thank you. What numbers, how many seats are you hoping to get? Realistically, based on your work.
Yeah, look.
The reason I ask this question is after May,
Yes.
we might get a chance to sit down. So we ask each other what went wrong, or how did you nail it? Yeah. How many seats are you?
I need to give you the background.
Yes.
Because we are not looking for seats. Okay? We are saying, here we are, we want to win the elections. We are realistic, we're not going to get a 50%. 3, 4, 5, 6 seats, or even 10 is fine.
Okay.
Even 1,
Okay.
it's okay. The crucial thing for us is to be in so we can influence. So that is the most important thing. To be in the legislature so we can influence. So if we get 3 seats or 5 or 10, it's okay. But what we don't want is that if we don't get a seat, we are not going to close shop.
Okay.
We are saying this is our first election. We are building a foundation. Rome was not built in one day. And sorry that I'm anticipating your thinking, because I keep on meeting journalists and they ask me the same question. And this is one.
As long as you keep them short.
Yeah. And this one chap said to me, are you going to go back to business? I say, yeah, look, we'll continue. Life after elections will be the same. And if there's an opportunity to go to the legislature, we will go. But we are not desperate. We are working hard. We want the seats. But even after that, we'll prepare for 2026 and 2020. Our biggest year of elections, we believe, is going to be this year, because we just arrived.
Okay, thank you. Next question also demands of you to be short.
Yes.
Who's funding you?
We are self-funded.
have you ever received monies in kind or in in any other form or any other tokens of financial help from other organizations or other people?
Outside the country?
No, outside your organization.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have people employed in your organization?
Yeah, we do.
On full-time basis
No,
or
they're all volunteers.
they're all volunteers?
Yeah.
But do they get stipends and?
Not at all. They're all
What-
volunteers, yeah.
What happens after elections? Do they go back to their normal lives?
No, we continue preparing for 2026.
Okay.
Yes.
When did you register 2 years ago?
We registered in June of 2022. We
Okay.
received our certificate in August.
Okay.
So our birthday is really in June. So
Okay.
we are a 23-month baby here.
Okay.
Yeah. Was it short enough?
Yeah, no, that was short enough. Anything you want to say in 1 minute as closure that you think we would have missed?
Yeah, look, it's about a message of saying to South Africans, please vote Big SA for us to help South Africans. We want to help South Africans to help themselves. We're not here to be everything for everybody. We just want South Africans to help themselves by offering a 3,500 a month for basics and 1,500 rand for basics for the younger people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks for your time. We'll come back.